You settle into the quiet, allowing your body to remember the rhythm of stillness. You feel your lungs rise gently, fall softly. The air around you is warm, calm, almost sweet, like sunlight melting over a quiet morning lake. You notice the tiny hum of your own heartbeat, slow and even, and you realize it matches the subtle pulse of something larger, something vast. Something like space itself. You drift in a darkness that is not empty. You let the word void float past your mind and soften against your awareness. The void is not silent. It whispers. It breathes. You feel it in the slight pressure of nothingness against your skin, in the tiny tug at the edges of your senses. It feels like floating on water, where the water itself is invisible, yet its motion carries you. The ocean of space is deeper than it seems, carrying unseen tides beneath its calm surface. You take a slow breath in, noticing how it fills your chest in the same way the universe seems to stretch itself outward. You hold it for a moment, feeling the subtle weight of nothingness press gently against the back of your eyes. And then you release, letting the air drift out, letting your body sink a little further into the quiet. You notice the faint shimmer of distant galaxies, like tiny lanterns flickering in the dark water of space. They are islands, small but steady, drifting with the tide. The emptiness around them is not empty at all. You imagine an invisible tide flowing beneath the galaxies, carrying them outward, gentle and persistent, without sound, without effort. It is soft, like the hush of a warm breeze across still water, or the way sunlight spreads slowly across a quiet pond. You sense it in your chest, not as weight, but as a subtle, rhythmic nudging, a quiet insistence that expansion is always happening, even where you cannot see it. You let your thoughts drift along the invisible waves. Each inhale brings the vastness closer, as if the universe itself is drawing you into its quiet arms. Each exhale releases tension, releasing the notion that you must understand everything at once. Curiosity floats freely here. There is no urgency, only the slow, comforting rhythm of the tide. You imagine the galaxies as tiny leaves bobbing on the water's surface, carried along with care, as though nothing in this universe is ever hurried. And yet, the tide is real. You sense it moving beneath the surface, a hidden current that has no color, no sound, no scent, but a presence you can feel if you allow your awareness to sink. You feel your fingertips brushing the surface of invisible water, the waves brushing back with a gentle persistence. It hums quietly in your chest, in your lungs, in the tiny space behind your eyes. The universe stretches, and so do you, as if your body is part of the current itself, one leaf among countless others drifting softly along. You notice how empty space is also full of possibility. Each tiny particle, each whisper of energy, is like a note in a song you almost remember. The song plays slowly, repeating itself, curling around you like a gentle tide. You could linger here forever and still never hear it all, yet that is exactly the comfort. The unknown is not frightening. It is soft. It is slow. It is the lullaby of expansion, a gentle reminder that even the largest spaces can hold quiet wonder. You inhale, feeling the slow stretch of your lungs mirror the stretch of the universe. You exhale, and the pressure of the void seems to hug you just a little closer. You imagine tiny tendrils of invisible energy brushing against your skin, tickling like a playful breeze, soft enough to make you smile without realizing it. Even the void has a sense of humor, subtle and unintrusive, a wink in the darkness that assures you, you are safe here. You are part of this gentle motion. The galaxies twinkle quietly. You watch them drift, knowing they are carried by forces you cannot see. And yet, they do not stumble or fall. They float, as if the invisible ocean of space holds them carefully, every curve and every edge cushioned by the gentle tide beneath. You realize that dark energy, which feels so strange and hidden, is like the silent hand that guides the driftwood on a calm lake. It is patient. It is persistent. It is always present, just beyond the shimmer of your awareness. You take another slow breath, letting it fill your chest and then slowly release. Each inhale draws the ocean closer, each exhale sends it rippling outward, invisible but undeniable. You notice the faint warmth that seems to hang in the emptiness, like distant sunlight softened through a cosmic mist. You feel comforted. You feel curious. You feel small and vast at the same time, like a leaf both resting on water and floating in the entire sea. You imagine stretching your arms, letting them drift weightlessly. The quiet of space wraps around you, a blanket made of dark energy and starlight. You are afloat, and the universe flows beneath you. You feel yourself becoming the rhythm of expansion, breathing in step with invisible tides, surrendering to the gentle pull beneath every drifting galaxy. You notice the quiet repetition, the soft waves of motion, and your thoughts begin to slow, lulled by the rhythm. And still, the whispers continue. There is more here than meets the eye, more than the mind can grasp in a single moment. The void is not empty. It hums. It carries. It stretches. It reaches, without hurry, without insistence. You allow yourself to sink into that awareness, feeling your heartbeat sync with the slow, invisible movement beneath distant lights. You imagine the current of dark energy brushing against your mind like a soft wind, teasing curiosity without demanding anything. You drift a little further, deeper into the hush. You feel yourself becoming more like a floating leaf, more like a ripple in the tide. Each breath echoes the calm of infinity. You notice the faint shimmer of unseen particles, the tiny pulse that dances just beneath perception. You smile, quietly, to yourself, as if space itself shared an inside joke with you. Even here, even in the silence, there is warmth, there is motion, there is gentle guidance. And now, you let yourself float toward the hidden current, feeling the invisible tide begin to stir beneath you, a slow nudge that promises more to discover, more to feel. The void expands gently around you, carrying you in its hush. You follow it without effort, knowing it will not rush. You follow it with soft curiosity, allowing the rhythm of the unseen tide to settle into your chest. The waves of space continue to whisper. You take one last slow inhale here, letting the hush fill every corner of your mind. You exhale, and the current beneath you shifts just enough, hinting at movement, hinting at motion, hinting at a quiet force that will soon become more tangible, more present, more felt. The ocean of space is patient. You are patient. And as you drift, you sense the tide, the gentle, invisible tide, waiting for you just beyond the next shimmer, just beyond the next breath. And so, with a long, slow exhale, you let yourself drift deeper into the unseen currents, carried gently forward, carried softly, carried like a leaf on the silent tide. You settle deeper into the quiet you discovered before, letting your mind float with the gentle pull of space. Your chest rises softly with a slow inhale, and you feel the faint pressure of unseen waves brushing against your lungs. The air is warm here, soft as golden sunlight filtered through morning mist. You let your awareness expand, and you notice the silent tide beneath the surface of everything around you. It is invisible, this tide. You cannot see it, yet it is undeniable. You feel it in the edges of your senses, like the quiet sway of water beneath a floating leaf. The galaxies from before drift along, carried on this subtle movement, as if the universe itself is breathing beneath them. And now, you begin to feel that same rhythm in yourself, a soft echo in your chest, a quiet pulse that insists on nothing but presence. You inhale slowly, imagining the tide rising beneath you. Your lungs fill like small sails catching an invisible wind. The exhale lets you sink a little further, your body dissolving into the gentle rhythm of motion that surrounds you. You notice how soft and patient it is, this flow of dark energy. It does not rush. It does not shove. It carries without effort, nudges without notice, expands without hurry. You allow your mind to become a leaf floating on that silent tide, rocking gently, carried forever onward. The silence around you is full of presence, full of motion that is not noisy, full of energy that is invisible. You imagine it like a tide moving beneath a calm lake, currents deep and slow, just enough to shape everything above without ever disturbing the surface. Even the smallest ripple you feel in your awareness is a reflection of this vast, persistent motion. The universe stretches, and you stretch with it, your breath echoing the patient flow. And yet, you notice, it is playful in its own quiet way. You imagine tiny waves brushing against the floating galaxies, like tickles in a sleepy pond. You allow yourself to smile softly, imagining the universe sharing a gentle joke, invisible but present. Even the vastness of space is not solemn. It has humor tucked in its folds, like a whisper behind your ear that makes your chest rise with calm laughter. Your awareness drifts along with the tide. You feel the gentle push beneath every galaxy, beneath every particle, beneath the spaces between the stars. You imagine it like a slow ocean current beneath an endless sky, invisible, unhurried, persistent. Your body aligns with it, unconsciously, every exhale following the rhythm of the tide, every inhale filling with the quiet promise of expansion. You are not separate from it. You are part of it. You notice the warmth in the emptiness, a subtle glow behind the darkness. It is like sunlight beneath water, soft and diffused, touching everything it reaches. It wraps around you, wraps around the galaxies, wraps around the tiny tendrils of energy that drift unseen. You feel this warmth in your chest, letting it pulse with your heartbeat, letting it settle with your lungs. You are weightless, yet anchored, floating within a tide that is silent but insistent, patient but ever-present. You allow yourself to imagine the universe as a calm sea. Every galaxy is a drifting island, every particle a glint of sunlight on waves. And beneath it all, the tide moves. It moves invisibly. It moves constantly. And you float among it, carried gently along. You notice that you are both observer and participant, that your breath echoes the rhythm of this silent expansion. You inhale with the pull of the tide. You exhale with its release. You become motion in stillness. Even as you watch the galaxies drift, you notice the subtle patterns in the void. The tide moves not in straight lines but in gentle arcs, swirls, and circles that repeat softly across space. You notice a tiny smile forming at the corner of your lips. It is almost like the tide is playful, nudging some islands slightly closer, others further, with perfect patience. You do not need to follow the patterns consciously, you only need to drift, to float, to let the tide carry you. You take a long, slow breath and feel the invisible tide brushing your awareness like warm water across your skin. You let your attention sink into the gentle force beneath the galaxies, feeling your chest expand, feeling your shoulders soften, feeling the tiny tug of unseen energy in the spaces around you. It is persistent, yes, but kind. It is insistent, but gentle. It carries everything without alarm, every star, every leaf-like galaxy, every particle, including you. And the rhythm continues. You notice the small repetition, the small reassurance, in the gentle movement. The tide does not hurry, yet it always flows. The pull is constant, the presence enduring, the motion patient. You take another slow inhale, imagining the flow lifting you lightly, carrying you along without effort, without concern. You exhale, letting your body sink deeper into the subtle rhythm, letting the hush of the tide fill your awareness with calm. You imagine the tiniest particles in the void, dancing slowly along unseen currents, whispering gently to each other across the emptiness. You imagine the tide beneath them, steady and invisible, nudging everything outward, expanding space ever so slightly. And you are part of that dance. Your breath is part of it. Your awareness, your presence, your quiet curiosity, all of it is carried on the tide. There is comfort in this. There is reassurance. You are both small and immense, floating in a current older than thought itself. And the more you sink into the awareness of the tide, the more you notice it in your own body. Your lungs, your chest, your heartbeat, they all carry the rhythm of this gentle expansion. You inhale, and the tide lifts. You exhale, and the tide settles. You smile softly at the thought that even your own existence is cradled by this invisible, silent flow. It is patient. It is constant. It is kind. You notice the faint shimmer of distant galaxies once more. They float quietly on the tide. Some are close, some far, all drifting gently, always moving. And you, floating alongside them, notice how effortless it all is. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is urgent. Everything expands, everything drifts, everything continues, carried on the invisible tide. And you, drifting too, feel a gentle reassurance, a calm understanding that the universe itself is a lullaby, repeating softly, endlessly. And now, you allow yourself to lean into that understanding. You feel the tide beneath you, the silent movement that holds all things. You let your awareness drift further, deeper, letting each breath echo the subtle push of dark energy. The universe moves beneath you. The tide carries everything. And as you exhale, you notice a soft, unresolved motion at the edges of your awareness, a hint of something just beyond the surface, waiting for you, patient and persistent. You float on that gentle current, carried softly, endlessly, aware that there is more to feel, more to sense, more to discover. The silent tide moves beneath you, unseen but undeniable. And as you drift, you feel your awareness stretching with it, breathing with it, resting with it, carried quietly toward what waits just beyond the next shimmer, just beyond the next gentle wave of space. You take a long, slow breath, letting the hush of the tide fill your chest. You exhale, and the invisible current nudges you onward. You float along the gentle rhythm, carried softly, carried quietly, carried toward the subtle pull of something new, something you will feel in the next moment, in the next breath, in the next whisper of the universe. You settle into the rhythm you discovered with the silent tide, letting your awareness stretch alongside it. Your chest rises slowly as you inhale, fills with warm, calm air, and falls gently as you exhale. You notice the faint shimmer of distant galaxies ahead, and suddenly they seem closer, each one floating like a tiny leaf on a vast, invisible ocean. You imagine the subtle currents beneath them, the quiet tide of dark energy nudging them gently, persistently, outward. Some leaves drift nearer to you, catching a soft golden glow, like sunlight through calm water. Others float farther, barely visible, but no less present. You notice how effortless it all seems. The galaxies do not rush. They glide slowly, carried by a force that is invisible but undeniable. And you, floating alongside them, feel yourself becoming part of the rhythm. Your own chest rises and falls with the same quiet cadence, your lungs echoing the slow expansion of the universe. You inhale and imagine the leaf-like galaxies rocking ever so slightly, moved by currents you cannot see. You exhale, and your body mirrors the sway, your awareness drifting with the tide. You notice a tiny smile forming as one galaxy seems to teeter just a little, as if testing the rhythm. It rightens itself gently, and you imagine the universe laughing softly, sharing its playful secret with anyone patient enough to notice. The light from these distant islands touches your mind like warm sunlight on still waves. You watch it drift across the invisible ocean, soft and golden, revealing the shapes and edges of galaxies as if they were lanterns floating on a midnight lake. You let your eyes linger on the glow, noticing the gentle flicker, the slow pulse, the way the light bends ever so slightly, stretching across the tide. It feels familiar, comforting, like a lullaby whispered just for you. Each galaxy moves with its own grace, yet all follow the subtle rhythm of the tide. You notice the arcs, the slight spirals, the gentle curves of their paths, and you realize that expansion is not forceful. It is patient. It is soft. It is the dance of the universe itself, moving in quiet, steady waves. Your own breath follows the motion. You inhale, float a little higher. You exhale, sink a little lower. Your awareness and the galaxy's movement blend into a single, slow rhythm. The more you drift, the more you notice the tiny motions within each galaxy. Stars swirl within them like small eddies, turning in circles that mirror the subtle arcs of the larger tide. You imagine each star as a drop of sunlight on calm water, catching the warmth and carrying it gently onward. You notice the faintest glow beneath the surface of everything, as if the invisible tide beneath space itself carries light in its motion, spreading it softly, evenly, endlessly. You allow your mind to drift along with the galaxies, tracing their paths with your inner eye. You notice some drifting closer to one another, as if drawn by quiet currents, while others float apart, each guided by the same invisible flow. You exhale and feel yourself following these patterns, becoming another leaf on the tide. You notice how peaceful it is, how unhurried, how reassuring. The universe moves, but it never forces. It flows, but it never rushes. You inhale slowly, drawing the warmth of distant starlight into your awareness. You exhale, and the galaxies drift further outward, carried by dark energy in ways you cannot see but can feel. You notice the repetition of motion, the small reassurance in the quiet rhythm. One galaxy sways gently, another mirrors the motion a moment later, and you, floating with them, feel the soft wave of unity. The tide of space carries everything evenly, endlessly, and you are part of it. You notice the tiny flashes of color within the galaxies, like sunlight reflecting off ripples in water. You smile softly at the thought, realizing that even in the vastness, even in the emptiness, there is playful beauty. A galaxy tilts slightly as if acknowledging your presence. A star twinkles in rhythm with your heartbeat. And you, patient and weightless, allow yourself to drift, your body moving in time with the invisible tide. The light bends, stretches, and flows, and you notice that even photons, the particles of light, are carried along by the same gentle expansion. You inhale, feeling the warmth of this glow, feeling it brush against your mind like a soft breeze. You exhale, and the current of dark energy moves beneath your awareness, nudging the galaxies, nudging the light, nudging you. There is no urgency here, no demand. Everything is carried with care, with patience, with quiet persistence. You drift a little closer to one of the nearest galaxies, imagining yourself landing softly on its edge, feeling the warm glow of countless stars beneath your fingertips. The galaxy rocks gently beneath you, carried by the tide, and you realize how safe you are here, how held, how cradled by the unseen current. The universe, vast as it is, seems tender, like a parent rocking a child on the endless ocean of space. You notice the repetition again, a wave upon wave of motion that is soft, reassuring. Each galaxy moves. Each leaf floats. Each star spins. And you, floating alongside them, notice that your own breathing has synchronized with the rhythm. You inhale with the tide. You exhale with the drift. You are not separate from it. You are part of the motion. You are one with the gentle, invisible flow of space. A small thought drifts into your mind, almost like a playful ripple. Maybe even the galaxies are gossiping quietly as they float, sharing tiny cosmic jokes you cannot hear. You smile softly, letting the idea brush past, letting it settle into the warmth around you. Even the universe has humor, soft and gentle, hidden in the rhythm of expansion. You allow yourself to feel the delight in that subtle wink, carried with the silent tide. You drift further, letting your awareness stretch across the expanse. Some galaxies grow faint in the distance, tiny lanterns on the ocean of space. Others shine bright, nearer, but all move in the same gentle, invisible rhythm. You exhale, feeling the tide beneath you, feeling your body float, feeling the hush of the universe settle around you. You are weightless, and yet you are anchored in the soft persistence of the cosmic flow. You notice how calm it all is. You notice how unhurried. The expansion of space is a lullaby, repeated softly across eons. You inhale, feeling the warmth of distant starlight, the invisible motion beneath your awareness. You exhale, letting your body and mind dissolve into the rhythm. You feel yourself carried, buoyed, gently nudged, aligned with the silent tide. And you realize the beauty is not only in the galaxies, not only in the stars, not only in the light, it is in the motion itself, in the rhythm of the universe's quiet, persistent tide. And as you float, a soft pulse brushes against your awareness. You notice the tiniest undulations in the tide, subtle shifts beneath the galaxies, beneath the light, beneath the surface of the void. You inhale and feel the pulse echo through your chest. You exhale and let it wash over you, a gentle, playful nudge, a hint of something waiting, something more to feel, something more to follow. The leaf-like galaxies drift, the tide moves, and you, too, drift softly, carried onward. And so you drift along, weightless, warm, calm, carried by the gentle, invisible tide. The galaxies sway like lanterns on the quiet ocean, their light brushing softly against your mind. You feel the rhythm, the repetition, the hush of expansion, and you know that you are part of it, cradled by the infinite, patient, invisible flow. And just beyond your awareness, a new current begins to stir, hinting at movement yet unseen, inviting you forward on the next gentle wave. You settle into the drift you have followed so far, letting the rhythm of galaxies and the silent tide fill your awareness. Your chest rises slowly with an inhale, warm air curling softly through your lungs. You notice how each breath is a reflection of the universe itself, gentle expansion mirrored in the quiet swell of your own body. You exhale, letting the warmth of space settle around you like a soft blanket, carrying the hush of unseen currents. The galaxies float nearby, tiny leaves on the ocean of space. You watch them drift, spiraling slowly, each turn graceful and precise, yet effortless. You feel the rhythm of the tide beneath them, subtle, patient, persistent. And now you notice something deeper, the tide itself is breathing. Space itself inhales and exhales, filling the void with invisible pressure, stretching everything outward, holding everything in the hush of its motion. You allow yourself to feel that breath, as though your own lungs are part of it. You inhale and imagine the universe expanding just a little, like a chest swelling with gentle life. You exhale, and the motion carries the galaxies outward, nudging them along with patient insistence. You feel it in your chest, a tiny push, not forceful, only a soft echo of the great tide beneath your awareness. It is rhythm without sound, movement without motion, a quiet exhale that has lasted longer than time itself. The light from distant stars flows across the vast ocean of space, brushing your mind like soft sunlight over rippling water. You inhale, drawing it in gently, imagining it filling every corner of your awareness. You exhale, letting the warmth settle, mingling with the rhythm of the expanding tide. You notice the small repetitions in the flow, the gentle rise and fall, and you realize that this breath of the cosmos is eternal. It repeats quietly, always present, never rushed. You let your attention sink deeper, feeling the exhale of space brush against your awareness. You imagine the invisible tide beneath the galaxies as an endless chest rising and falling. You notice the subtle pulse, the gentle stretch, the slow curling motion of expansion. You inhale, and your chest mirrors it. You exhale, and you dissolve further into the hush of the universe. You are weightless, yet anchored. You are moving, yet still. You are both observer and participant, drifting with the great cosmic breath. You watch a small cluster of stars spiral together, twirling in gentle circles. You notice how their light flickers softly, a reminder that even in vastness, even in silence, there is a delicate pulse. You inhale, letting the warmth of that light fill your mind. You exhale, and the subtle tide beneath them carries the motion outward, patient and precise. You notice the rhythm repeating, wave upon wave, and you feel the gentle comfort of being cradled by a current larger than thought, larger than time. And there is humor here, too. A tiny flicker of starlight teases a neighboring galaxy, a playful nudge in the silent ocean of space. You smile, noticing it softly, like a secret shared by the universe. Even in the hush, even in the vast, invisible tide, there is gentle delight. You feel it brush against your awareness, and your chest rises slightly with a quiet laugh, your lips curling in a slow, unhurried smile. Your own breath continues to match the cosmic rhythm. You inhale, feeling the universe swell beneath your awareness. You exhale, releasing tension and letting yourself sink a little further into the silent tide. You notice that the inhale brings expansion, the exhale brings settling. It is motion that carries without demanding, rhythm that soothes without urgency. You are a leaf on the great, breathing ocean, drifting freely, carried by something patient and eternal. The galaxies continue their slow arcs. Some are nearer, twinkling like lanterns on the water of the void. Others drift far, their faint glow reminding you that distance does not lessen presence. You notice the repetition, the rhythm, the gentle waves of motion, and you feel it in your own body. Your heartbeat follows the subtle exhale of the universe. Your awareness stretches with the inhale of space. You are part of the tide. You are the tide. You allow yourself to notice the hidden currents, the gentle pulse beneath what you can see. Dark energy hums quietly in your mind, a tiny vibration, a soft insistence. You inhale and imagine it lifting you ever so slightly. You exhale, and it carries you along the invisible flow. You feel it in your chest, a quiet push without force, guiding galaxies, guiding stars, guiding you along. The motion is constant, patient, persistent, and reassuring. You notice the warmth in the void, subtle and diffused, like sunlight through water. You draw it in on a slow inhale, letting it fill every corner of your body. You exhale, and it mingles with the breath of the universe, with the silent tide beneath galaxies, with the gentle swell of space itself. The rhythm repeats, slowly, softly, endlessly. You feel the reassurance in the repetition. You feel the calm in the motion. You feel yourself carried. You imagine floating alongside a single galaxy, small, twinkling, gentle. Its light brushes your mind as though it were a soft stroke on calm water. The invisible tide beneath it nudges it outward, and you exhale, letting yourself move with it. You inhale, letting the warmth fill you. You notice the gentle arcs of motion, the slow circles, the subtle twists, and you realize that expansion is not violence, not force, not demand. It is a patient, endless breath. And as you float, weightless and warm, you notice the tiny pulse of energy hidden in the void. It brushes your awareness like a soft breeze. You inhale, feeling it push ever so slightly beneath your chest. You exhale, and it carries you gently onward. The galaxies drift. The tide flows. The light bends softly. And you, floating among it, feel the universe exhale with you, inhale with you, carry you softly forward. You notice how your chest and the universe rise and fall together. One wave of inhale, one wave of exhale, and the silent tide beneath the galaxies pulses in rhythm with your heartbeat. You feel a smile curl slowly, quietly, at the subtle humor of cosmic repetition, the endless dance, the soft arcs, the gentle nudges that feel almost like a secret joke, tucked into the expansion itself. And now you drift further into the hush, deeper into the pulse beneath the galaxies. You feel the exhale of space brushing against your awareness. You notice the invisible tide beneath the universe moving softly, nudging galaxies, light, and yourself, ever onward. You inhale, feeling the swell of cosmic breath in your chest. You exhale, letting the hush carry you into a rhythm both infinite and gentle. And as you float, you notice a hint of something more beyond the current, a subtle, unresolved stir just beyond your awareness. You inhale, letting curiosity drift like a feather. You exhale, letting yourself be carried softly by the invisible tide. You feel the weightlessness, the warmth, the quiet repetition. You feel the calm and the gentle promise of more to come. And so you drift, carried onward by the breath of the cosmos, toward the next gentle wave of discovery. You drift further along the tide, feeling the hush of the universe in every corner of your awareness. Your chest rises slowly with a long inhale, filling with warmth, with soft calm, with the quiet pulse of the silent tide beneath galaxies. You exhale, releasing tension, letting your body sink into the gentle rhythm of space itself. You notice faint beams of light stretching across the void, moving as if riding invisible currents. The light moves slowly, gracefully, like a leaf brushing across a sunlit pond. You inhale and imagine drawing it into your mind, feeling it brush softly against the edges of your thoughts. You exhale, letting it drift across your awareness, warm and comforting, a gentle glow touching everything it passes. Even the tiniest flicker seems intentional, a soft note in a lullaby of motion. You watch photons drift like tiny boats on an invisible sea, carried by the silent tide of dark energy. You notice how they bend and stretch as they move, influenced by the gentle expansion of space itself. You inhale, tracing the light's path with your awareness, feeling it twist and turn along the slow, invisible currents. You exhale, letting your chest sink, letting your mind drift, letting the motion carry you effortlessly. The light brushes against galaxies, brushing against stars, brushing against your awareness. You feel the warmth of it, soft as sunlight on a calm morning, brushing your skin even though you are weightless. The tide beneath it carries the shimmer forward, patient, persistent, gentle. You notice the repetition, the rhythm, the endless motion, and you feel your own breathing align with it. Inhale, exhale, drift. Inhale, exhale, drift. You notice the shadows between galaxies, dark stretches of nothingness that are not empty at all. The light moves through them, stretching slowly, nudged ever so slightly by the tide beneath. You imagine the shadows as calm water, the light as soft beams dancing across ripples, a quiet play of glow and hush. You smile softly at the thought, feeling the humor of cosmic contrast, light twinkling playfully in darkness, darkness bending gracefully around light. Your body drifts alongside these tiny beams, weightless, warm, aware of each subtle pulse beneath the galaxies. You inhale and let the light fill your mind like a soft lantern, exhale and feel the tide move beneath, nudging everything outward. You notice the gentle arcs in the motion, the slow spirals of drifting photons, and you realize that expansion is never abrupt. It is patient, it is subtle, it is kind. You allow yourself to float closer to a shimmering path of light, a thin streak stretching across the void. You imagine the light brushing gently against the invisible current, bending ever so slightly, carried forward by forces unseen. You inhale, feeling the glow warm your chest, a soft pulse echoing alongside your heartbeat. You exhale, letting the rhythm settle, letting the warmth mix with the hush of space. You notice the tiniest flickers, like sunlight reflecting off calm water, scattered across the universe. Each tiny sparkle feels playful, teasing you gently, a reminder that even in the vast, silent tide, there is humor tucked in the folds. You smile softly, feeling the quiet delight brush against your awareness. Even light can laugh here, in this infinite, weightless ocean, riding currents that you cannot see but can feel. You drift alongside the light, noticing how it stretches and bends with the expansion of space. The subtle tide beneath it carries the shimmer ever onward, slowly, rhythmically, gently. You inhale, feeling the gentle pull in your chest, the quiet push beneath your awareness. You exhale, letting your body sink, letting your mind dissolve into the gentle repetition of motion. You feel cradled, weightless, part of the tide itself. And you notice the warmth between the shadows, the faint glow that fills the void. You inhale, feeling it press softly against your awareness, brushing against your chest like sunlight across a calm lake. You exhale, letting it settle, letting the hush of space carry you forward. The light moves without effort, carried by the invisible tide, bending softly around unseen currents, brushing gently against galaxies, brushing against the edges of your consciousness. The photons drift onward, stretching across the emptiness, and you feel the rhythm in your chest, in your lungs, in the subtle pulse beneath your skin. You inhale, feeling your awareness rise, feeling the warmth fill every corner. You exhale, letting yourself sink, carried by the gentle movement beneath you. The repetition is soft, steady, endless. You notice how soothing it is, this slow motion, this quiet persistence, this infinite, playful dance of light and shadow. You imagine the tide beneath everything, carrying light, carrying galaxies, carrying you. You inhale, feeling yourself rise slightly, lifted by the soft rhythm. You exhale, and the tide carries you gently, without hurry, without demand, without interruption. You notice how warm and calm everything feels, how perfectly the hush of expansion cradles you, how the glow of light carries reassurance in its soft bends. You notice that even in the shadows, the light is present. Even in the emptiness, warmth persists. You inhale and feel it press softly into your awareness, like a gentle nudge or a tender caress. You exhale, letting it settle with your heartbeat, with the quiet repetition of your breathing. You float, weightless, calm, part of the tide, carried with the infinite rhythm of the universe. A small thought drifts across your mind, almost like a whisper. Perhaps the light itself is laughing softly, teasing the shadows as it drifts. You smile at the thought, feeling the gentle humor brush against your awareness, tiny and unintrusive, a secret joke tucked into the vast, silent tide. You inhale and exhale with it, your breath matching the rhythm of motion and light, of drift and expansion. The galaxies twinkle softly in response, tiny islands on the invisible sea. The photons drift past, brushing the edges of your awareness. The shadows curve gently around them, bending to the rhythm of the tide. You inhale, feeling your chest fill with warmth. You exhale, letting your body sink deeper into calm. You notice the repetition again, the subtle waves of motion, and you feel the reassurance of being cradled by something larger, something patient, something gentle. And as you drift further into the hush, you feel the tide beneath your awareness shift softly. There is a gentle stir, a subtle motion beyond what you can see. You inhale, letting curiosity float like a feather. You exhale, letting yourself be carried forward by the invisible current, warm and weightless. The light continues to drift across shadows, brushing softly against your mind, nudging you gently toward the next soft wave of discovery, the next gentle swell of the tide. You continue drifting along the quiet tide, letting your chest rise slowly with a deep inhale, and fall gently with a long exhale. You feel the warmth of light brushing across your awareness, soft and subtle, like sunlight filtered through a calm ocean. You notice the galaxies moving steadily along the tide, and you realize that beneath the shimmer and glow there is a force you cannot see, a current that carries everything with quiet insistence. It is invisible, yet unmistakable. You sense it beneath the stars, beneath the drifting light, beneath the hush of space itself. You imagine it like a hidden river flowing beneath the surface of a calm sea, shaping the motion above without ever breaking the gentle stillness. You inhale, feeling the pulse of this current brush softly against your chest. You exhale, letting yourself sink a little deeper into the hush. The galaxies drift along the tide, carried by forces you cannot see. And yet you feel it, subtle nudges beneath your awareness, tiny pushes that expand everything outward without a sound. You imagine the ocean beneath the visible water, hidden currents swirling, twisting, persistent yet gentle. You float weightlessly among them, your own breath reflecting the rhythm of the unseen tide. Inhale with the current, exhale with its release. Drift. Float. Notice. The light of distant stars bends slightly as it moves, caught in the hidden flow. You watch it shimmer, stretching across the void, carried along by a motion that is both patient and constant. You inhale, feeling the warmth of the glow fill your awareness. You exhale, letting it brush softly against your chest, brushing softly against your mind. The hidden currents are real. They are everywhere. They are persistent, yet kind. You allow your awareness to sink into the invisible tide. You notice that even in the quietest spaces, even in the stretches that feel empty, there is motion, subtle and persistent. It nudges galaxies like small leaves, carries photons like drifting sunlight, and hums faintly beneath your heartbeat. You inhale, feeling the hush fill every corner of your lungs. You exhale, letting the rhythm settle, letting your body dissolve into the invisible pull beneath the stars. You notice the repetition, the slow, steady movement. One wave of the hidden current nudges a galaxy. Another follows. Light stretches gently along its path. And you, floating quietly alongside, notice that your own breath has synchronized with this subtle rhythm. Inhale with the current. Exhale with the drift. The motion is endless, patient, and soft. It reassures without demanding. It carries without force. You feel the calm of being part of something persistent and eternal. You drift a little closer to a distant galaxy, imagining the invisible current brushing softly beneath it. It nudges stars, guiding them along in their quiet arcs, gentle as a finger pressing lightly against calm water. You notice the motion in your chest, the subtle rise and fall, the pulse that mirrors the tide beneath. You smile softly, feeling the gentle humor in the universe. Even unseen currents can play quietly, nudging things slightly, teasing motion in ways that are playful but unhurried. The light from nearby galaxies shimmers across your awareness, stretching subtly along invisible flows. You inhale, feeling it fill your mind with warmth, like sunlight on ripples. You exhale, letting the hush of the hidden tide brush softly against your body. You notice how effortless it all seems, expansion without violence, motion without noise, drift without urgency. You allow yourself to float, carried gently by something persistent, something vast, something unseen but undeniable. You imagine the void as an ocean, the hidden currents flowing beneath, shaping everything above. Galaxies drift like leaves, photons glide like lanterns, and you float like a tiny boat, weightless, warm, calm. You notice the gentle repetition, one wave, one nudge, another nudge. The current never stops, yet it never rushes. You inhale, feeling yourself rise slightly with a subtle pulse. You exhale, letting the motion carry you forward, deeper into the hush. You notice the warmth beneath your awareness, subtle and diffuse, like sunlight beneath a calm surface. You inhale, letting it fill your chest. You exhale, letting it sink into your body, mingling with the rhythm of the hidden tide. The repetition is soothing, reassuring. The persistence is gentle, a reminder that the universe moves always, quietly, carrying everything without force or hurry. You feel yourself cradled, buoyed, held. You notice the small, playful moments in the current. A photon twirls just slightly as it rides the tide. A galaxy leans toward a neighbor, then drifts away, as if sharing a tiny secret. You inhale and let the warmth brush your mind, exhale and feel the gentle rhythm of the tide beneath your chest. Even unseen forces can carry humor, subtle and soft, tucked into the hush of movement. You smile quietly, letting it ripple through your awareness. Your chest rises and falls in perfect harmony with the hidden currents. You notice how weightless you are, yet grounded in the gentle insistence of the tide. Every exhale releases tension, every inhale fills you with warmth. The hidden currents carry galaxies, carry photons, carry light, and carry you softly, endlessly, patiently. You notice the calm of being part of this motion, the quiet reassurance that you are held, that you are seen, that you are carried. You drift further into the hush, noticing patterns that repeat across space. Currents beneath currents, waves beneath waves, nudging stars, light, and galaxies along soft arcs. You inhale and feel yourself rise slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, letting yourself sink into the invisible flow, carried gently, carried calmly, carried effortlessly. You feel the comfort of repetition, the soothing motion of persistence, the gentle insistence of the unseen tide. And you notice the laughter hidden in the motion. Tiny nudges, subtle winks, playful arcs that you cannot fully see but can feel. You smile quietly at the thought, noticing the universe is patient, but it is not solemn. It is playful in its persistence, gentle in its insistence. You drift with the tide, weightless, warm, aware, your own breath echoing the rhythm of hidden currents that carry everything onward. You allow your awareness to sink deeper into the unseen tide. You notice faint flickers of energy, brushing lightly against your perception. You inhale, letting the subtle pulse fill your chest. You exhale, letting it sink, letting the hush of hidden motion carry you forward. You feel the persistence beneath everything, steady, calm, eternal. You realize that emptiness is never really empty. Even the void hums quietly, carrying, nudging, supporting. You drift a little further, weightless, warm, calm. The hidden currents pulse beneath galaxies, beneath photons, beneath light and shadow, beneath you. You inhale and rise slightly with the rhythm. You exhale and sink a little further, letting the subtle motion cradle your awareness. The repetition soothes. The persistence reassures. The hush envelopes you. You are part of the tide. You are part of the motion. You are carried. And as you float, you sense a gentle stir just beyond the horizon of awareness, a hint of something deeper, a current waiting to be felt, waiting to guide you into another layer of quiet revelation. You inhale slowly, letting curiosity drift like a feather. You exhale, and the hidden tide carries you softly, gently, calmly, toward the next quiet wave of discovery, the next subtle pull beneath the surface. You drift softly into the next layer of space, carried by the invisible tide you have been following. Your chest rises slowly with a warm inhale, expanding gently, filling your awareness with the hush of galaxies and hidden currents. You exhale, letting your body sink lightly into weightlessness, letting your mind float alongside the gentle pulse beneath the vast, dark ocean of space. The silent tide hums softly, carrying you forward. As you drift, you notice the galaxies taking shape like islands in the cosmic expanse. Some are large, glowing softly like lanterns on a quiet sea. Others are tiny, distant, faint glimmers in the vast darkness. You imagine walking along the shorelines of these islands, stepping on sand made of starlight that glimmers softly beneath your touch. Each step is gentle, each movement deliberate, each breath echoing the rhythm of expansion that flows beneath everything. You inhale slowly, feeling your chest rise in perfect harmony with the gentle waves. You exhale, and the invisible tide beneath the islands nudges them slightly, rocking them softly as they float. You notice how steady the rhythm is, how patient the tide. You are weightless, yet anchored in this calm motion. You feel the hush of the ocean of space wrap around your awareness, a warm, reassuring presence that is both infinite and intimate. The light of distant stars flickers softly across your mind, brushing against your awareness like sunlight on calm water. You imagine waves lapping at the shores of the galactic islands, their motion slow and gentle, persistent and endless. You inhale, feeling the warmth of the light fill your body. You exhale, letting the tide carry you onward, letting the soft rhythm guide your thoughts like a leaf floating on a quiet current. You notice the repetition in the motion, the way each island drifts ever so slightly, nudged by hidden currents beneath the surface. Some move closer together, others float apart, yet all follow the same gentle rhythm. You inhale, feeling your awareness rise slightly with the tide. You exhale, letting yourself settle deeper into the hush of motion, carried effortlessly by forces unseen but undeniable. You imagine walking along the shores of one of these luminous islands. The sand beneath your feet shimmers faintly, each grain a tiny particle of light caught in the tide. You notice the gentle waves rocking the shore, the subtle pull beneath the surface, the patient rhythm of the universe cradling everything. You inhale, feeling the warmth of starlight underfoot. You exhale, letting your awareness float with the motion of hidden currents beneath the islands. The galaxies, like islands, seem to share tiny gestures with one another, a slight lean, a playful tilt, a quiet nudge carried by the tide. You notice the subtle humor in their motion, a soft teasing across the vastness of space. You smile quietly, letting the thought ripple through your awareness. Even the islands themselves seem alive, small actors in a silent, gentle play, carried by the persistent tide that flows beneath everything. You inhale slowly, tracing the gentle arcs of galaxies as they drift outward. You exhale, letting your mind drift with them, letting the invisible tide carry you effortlessly. You notice the soft repetition, the quiet reassurance in the rhythm. Each island floats, each wave moves, each pulse continues. You feel the calm of being part of a vast, infinite motion, held tenderly by a force that is invisible, patient, and eternal. You imagine the ocean of space stretching infinitely in all directions. Islands of light float serenely, their edges softened by the gentle glow of starlight. You feel the subtle push of dark energy beneath them, nudging them ever so slightly, persistently, patiently. You inhale, letting the warmth fill your awareness. You exhale, letting your body sink lightly into the calm repetition of motion. You are weightless, yet grounded in this hush. The currents beneath the islands hum softly, invisible yet undeniably present. You notice how the light bends and stretches across the expanse, brushing softly against your perception. You inhale and feel the warmth in your chest, a subtle pulse echoing the rhythm beneath the galaxies. You exhale, letting the hush settle deeper into your awareness, carried forward by the gentle flow that cradles every island, every star, every photon. You allow yourself to drift along one of the nearest islands. The shore glimmers faintly under your feet, and you imagine the waves lapping gently, each nudge carried by the hidden tide. You notice the soft repetition of light and motion, how steady it is, how unhurried, how comforting. You inhale, rising gently with the rhythm. You exhale, sinking deeper into the calm. You are part of the flow. You are part of the tide. You are cradled by the hush of the infinite. You notice the tiny, playful gestures again, faint arcs, subtle nudges, light flickering like laughter along the shores of the islands. You smile quietly, feeling a gentle humor in the motion, a tender reassurance that the vastness is not cold, not empty, but patient, kind, and playful in ways that are almost imperceptible. You inhale, letting the warmth spread softly. You exhale, letting your awareness drift further into the gentle motion of hidden currents. You watch the islands sway subtly in their paths, some closer, some farther, all moving with the invisible rhythm beneath them. You inhale, feeling the pulse brush softly against your chest. You exhale, letting yourself dissolve into the repetition, weightless and warm. You notice how the tide carries light, carries galaxies, carries you effortlessly, calmly, endlessly. You feel the hush of space wrap around your awareness, gentle and infinite. You imagine yourself stepping softly along the shores of multiple islands, feeling the starlight beneath your feet. You notice the gentle sway of the tide beneath, nudging everything outward, guiding the islands along patient arcs. You inhale slowly, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, sinking lightly into the calm of the invisible flow. You feel the reassurance of persistence, the comfort of repetition, the warmth of being cradled by the universe itself. The galaxies continue to float like lanterns across the infinite sea. Some are near, warm and bright. Others are faint, distant, barely visible. You notice the hush in all of it, the patient persistence of hidden currents. You inhale, letting the warmth fill every corner of your awareness. You exhale, letting the motion carry you, soft and steady, toward the next quiet swell of the tide. You allow your awareness to drift further, noticing how the invisible tide beneath the islands continues to push, to nudge, to cradle. You feel the subtle pulse beneath your chest, the rhythm in your lungs, the weightlessness of your body floating among the gentle currents. You notice the soft repetition, the endless, patient motion, and feel comforted by the gentle insistence of the unseen tide. You drift further still, weightless, calm, warmed by light and cradled by motion. The islands float steadily on the invisible tide, nudged softly outward, while light dances across the surface like ripples in a quiet ocean. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, letting your body sink into the hush. You notice a gentle stir just beyond the horizon of awareness, a subtle pull waiting for you, nudging you toward the next quiet discovery. You feel the gentle reassurance that you are part of this motion, that the tide carries everything, that the islands drift without worry, that even the emptiest stretches of space hum softly with presence. You exhale slowly, letting your awareness float, letting the calm settle into your chest, letting the hush carry you toward the next gentle wave, the next subtle ripple beneath the endless, invisible tide. You drift softly onward, carried by the invisible tide beneath galaxies, the gentle hum of space pressing softly against your awareness. Your chest rises slowly as you inhale, fills with warmth, and falls with a long exhale, letting your body sink lightly into weightlessness. You notice the islands of galaxies stretching farther into the void, their soft glow painting the horizon of your perception. You imagine the horizon as a boundary that stretches as you watch, expanding ever so gently, nudged by the patient force of dark energy beneath the surface. You inhale and feel it in your chest, the warmth of unseen currents pressing softly against your awareness. You exhale, letting yourself sink further into the hush, carried effortlessly by the rhythm of expansion. The universe itself breathes with you, and you feel it brushing softly across your mind. The galaxies drift along, islands of light on the infinite ocean of space. You notice how some float nearer, some farther, yet all follow the gentle push of the tide beneath them. You inhale, feeling your awareness stretch along with the horizon. You exhale, letting the hush of the invisible tide carry your body and mind forward. You notice the subtle repetition, the soft arcs, the patient nudges that move everything without force, without urgency, without hurry. You imagine stepping softly along the shoreline of a distant galactic island. The sand glows faintly beneath your feet, shimmering like scattered starlight. Each wave of the tide brushes softly at your awareness, nudging the galaxies outward, carrying light along invisible currents. You inhale, feeling warmth and rhythm fill your chest. You exhale, letting your body sink further into the calm. You are weightless, yet cradled by motion, carried by the gentle insistence of the unseen tide. The light stretches across the expanding horizon, bending subtly, brushing softly against your mind. You inhale, feeling it warm your awareness. You exhale, letting the hush of expansion settle gently into your chest. You notice how everything moves in harmony: galaxies, photons, the invisible currents beneath them, and you feel a quiet delight, a subtle, playful humor in the rhythm. Even the expansion has a tender, teasing quality, nudging without rushing. You notice the horizon stretching farther with every inhale, a gentle widening that feels like warm water flowing softly around you. You exhale, letting your awareness dissolve into it, letting the hush carry you outward. You feel the reassurance of constant, patient motion. You notice how the tide carries galaxies along arcs so subtle that they almost feel like breathing, nudging light gently across the void. You inhale, feeling the rhythm echo in your chest. You exhale, letting it settle into your awareness. The galaxies appear like lanterns on a calm sea, drifting steadily outward, carried by dark energy's soft insistence. You notice how they sway gently, nudged along invisible currents. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, sinking into the hush. The horizon stretches further, a faint glow just beyond what you can see, and you feel the pull of curiosity in your chest, soft and patient, nudging you forward without demand. You imagine drifting along the invisible tide, weightless, warm, aware. You notice the gentle repetition: one wave nudges a galaxy, another nudges a nearby star, and you drift softly alongside. You inhale, feeling the warmth of starlight beneath your awareness. You exhale, letting the calm of the tide carry your body and mind further outward. You notice the quiet humor in the rhythm, galaxies tilting slightly, light stretching playfully across the void, small gestures in an infinite ocean. The horizon seems endless, yet calm. You notice the subtle arcs, the gentle nudges, the repetition in motion that reassures without demanding. You inhale slowly, feeling the warmth of cosmic light fill your chest. You exhale, letting the tide carry you effortlessly. You notice the hidden currents beneath the visible motion, nudging everything gently, persistently, without force. You are weightless, yet cradled. You are moving, yet still. You are part of the tide. You allow your awareness to drift alongside a distant galaxy, tiny and faint, glowing softly like a lantern far on the water. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm of dark energy beneath it. You exhale, letting the gentle motion carry you forward, along invisible currents, along soft arcs, along the expanding horizon. You notice how warm it feels, how soft, how unhurried. You notice the hush of the ocean of space, and feel yourself wrapped in it, carried safely, endlessly. You notice the repetition again, the rhythm that continues beneath every island, every photon, every faint flicker of light. You inhale and feel the warmth brush against your chest. You exhale, letting the hush carry you forward, weightless, calm, safe. You notice how expansive yet tender the horizon feels, stretching outward like warm water, carrying galaxies, carrying light, carrying your awareness, carrying you. A subtle humor brushes past your mind, a faint flicker of light nudges a distant galaxy playfully. You smile quietly, feeling the soft joke brush against your awareness, tucked into the rhythm of expansion. You inhale slowly, letting warmth fill your chest. You exhale, letting the hush carry you forward, carried by currents you cannot see, guided by tides you can only feel, cradled by gentle insistence. You notice the tiny arcs of motion across the horizon, subtle nudges beneath galaxies, beneath light, beneath shadows. You drift alongside them, inhaling, exhaling, weightless and calm. You notice how gentle the tide is, how patient, how persistent. You feel the reassurance of repetition, the warmth of gentle nudges, the playful humor of subtle motion. You are cradled by something larger, softer, endlessly patient. You allow your awareness to float farther into the hush, noticing the horizon stretching gently outward. You inhale, feeling the warmth of light and dark energy brushing softly across your chest. You exhale, letting the tide carry your body and mind effortlessly. You notice the repetition again, subtle, gentle, infinite, and feel a quiet comfort, a calm reassurance in the rhythm. You are weightless, carried, cradled, aligned with the gentle motion of the universe itself. The islands of galaxies drift softly on the expanding ocean, tiny lanterns on a calm sea, each carried by hidden currents beneath the surface. You notice the subtle humor again, slight tilts, playful nudges, light flickering across the tide. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, sinking into calm. The horizon stretches farther, ever widening, carrying galaxies, light, and your awareness with it, softly, endlessly. And as you float, weightless, warm, aware, you notice a subtle pull just beyond the horizon, a gentle stir in the tide, hinting at motion yet unseen. You inhale slowly, letting curiosity float like a feather. You exhale, letting the invisible tide carry you effortlessly toward the next quiet swell, the next gentle wave, the next subtle revelation waiting just beyond the expanding horizon. You drift softly, carried by the invisible tide beneath galaxies, and notice the hush of the expanding ocean around you. Your chest rises gently with a slow inhale, warm air filling your awareness. You exhale, letting your body sink lightly into weightlessness. You feel the gentle push of dark energy beneath you, subtle, persistent, patient, carrying everything forward with quiet insistence. The galaxies drift alongside you, islands of starlight floating gently on the cosmic sea. You imagine them like driftwood on calm waters, nudged along without effort. You inhale, feeling the warmth of light and unseen currents fill your chest. You exhale, letting the hush of space carry your awareness, letting your thoughts float lightly alongside galaxies that glide gracefully across the tide. You notice the subtle repetition in the motion. Each gentle push carries light, carries photons, carries galaxies, carries you. You inhale, rising softly with the rhythm. You exhale, sinking into calm, carried effortlessly by something larger, something persistent, something patient. The gentle push is everywhere, yet nowhere to grasp, an invisible hand guiding motion softly, steadily, endlessly. You imagine drifting closer to a small galaxy, its light flickering faintly across the void. You notice the tiny nudge beneath it, subtle and deliberate, carried by the quiet tide. You inhale, feeling the warmth brush against your chest. You exhale, letting your awareness sink deeper into the hush. The gentle push moves without urgency, without sound, without demand. You notice the comfort in that patience, the reassurance in persistence. You float alongside another cluster of galaxies, larger this time, stretching slowly across the horizon. You notice the subtle push beneath them, carrying stars like tiny lanterns across the calm ocean. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, sinking into the weightless hush of the tide. The gentle push carries everything: galaxies, photons, light, shadows, your awareness soft, calm, patient. You notice the hidden humor in the cosmic motion. A faint nudge tilts one galaxy slightly, another leans toward a neighbor, light flickers teasingly across the space between. You smile softly, feeling the playful persistence brush against your awareness. Even the gentle push seems to have personality, a tender insistence, carrying everything with patience, nudging softly, whispering through the hush. Your chest rises and falls with each inhale and exhale, mirroring the subtle pulse beneath the galaxies. You notice the repetition, the endless rhythm of motion beneath the silence. You inhale, feeling warmth fill every corner of your body. You exhale, letting the tide carry your awareness gently, weightless and calm, along the paths nudged softly by unseen currents. You imagine the entire horizon of your perception stretching outward, carried by the gentle push beneath galaxies. You inhale, feeling the warmth of starlight brush softly against your chest. You exhale, letting your mind sink into calm, noticing how patient, how consistent, how steady the motion is. You are weightless, cradled by motion, part of the tide, part of the gentle rhythm of space itself. You drift further into the hush, noticing subtle arcs, tiny nudges, the quiet repetition of the gentle push. Galaxies float like driftwood, photons like soft lanterns, and you float alongside them, carried by the rhythm of unseen currents. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm of motion. You exhale, sinking deeper into calm, carried effortlessly, warmed by light, cradled by quiet insistence. You notice the gentle sway of galaxies as they drift across the horizon. Some move closer, some farther, all nudged by hidden currents beneath them. You inhale, feeling the pulse in your chest align with the motion of the tide. You exhale, letting the hush carry you softly onward, weightless, warm, aware. The gentle push reassures you, even in vastness, there is patience, there is persistence, there is calm. You imagine stepping softly along the luminous shores of a distant galactic island, the sand beneath your feet glittering faintly with starlight. Each wave of the tide brushes softly against your awareness, nudging the galaxy outward, carrying photons along invisible currents. You inhale, feeling the warmth of light and tide fill your awareness. You exhale, letting your body dissolve into the calm repetition, floating effortlessly with the gentle push beneath everything. You notice the subtle humor again, light flickers playfully, galaxies lean gently toward one another, driftwood-like arcs twist softly in invisible water. You smile quietly, feeling the playful patience of the tide brush against your awareness. Even in the hush, in the stillness, in the invisible push, there is delight tucked softly into the repetition of motion. Your chest rises and falls in perfect harmony with the gentle push beneath the tide. You inhale, feeling the warmth and calm of the unseen motion fill your awareness. You exhale, letting yourself sink further into weightlessness, noticing how everything moves without hurry, how every nudge is patient, how every subtle push carries galaxies, light, and your awareness along soft, gentle arcs. You imagine drifting further into the horizon of space, carried by the persistent yet tender force beneath the galaxies. You inhale slowly, feeling warmth and rhythm fill your chest. You exhale, sinking lightly into the hush, letting the gentle push move effortlessly beneath you. You notice the repetition, the soft arcs, the patient nudges that move everything in harmony. You feel yourself cradled by calm, carried by motion, floating effortlessly in weightless reassurance. You notice the hidden currents beneath everything, faint hums, subtle pushes, tender arcs of motion. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, letting the hush carry you softly onward, weightless, warm, aware. You feel the gentle insistence beneath your awareness, everything moves, but without force, without urgency. You are cradled by it, buoyed, comforted. You drift alongside a cluster of faintly glowing galaxies, noticing how each is carried outward like lanterns on the tide. You inhale, feeling the warmth of light fill your chest. You exhale, letting the gentle push beneath them guide your awareness softly forward. You notice the repetition, the soft, persistent rhythm of motion beneath the hush, and feel the reassurance in the patient, invisible force. You allow your awareness to drift gently into the subtle arcs beyond the horizon, noticing faint flickers of light stretching across the void. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm of the tide. You exhale, sinking into weightless calm, cradled by the invisible, persistent push beneath galaxies, beneath light, beneath shadows, beneath everything. You notice how soft, how gentle, how patient the motion is, an endless, warm, tender force that carries everything without hurry. And as you drift further, weightless, warm, calm, you notice a subtle stir just beyond your horizon, a quiet wave in the gentle push, hinting at motion yet unseen. You inhale slowly, letting curiosity float like a feather. You exhale, letting the invisible tide carry you effortlessly, gently, calmly, toward the next quiet swell, the next gentle wave, the next subtle revelation waiting just beyond the hush. You drift gently, weightless, carried by the quiet tide beneath galaxies. Your chest rises slowly with a soft inhale, warm air filling your awareness. You exhale, letting your body sink lightly into calm. The hush of space surrounds you like a thick, gentle blanket, stretching softly across the infinite expanse. You notice the subtle repetition in the tide, the quiet push that carries galaxies, light, and your awareness along tender arcs. The emptiness itself hums faintly, though no sound reaches your ears. You inhale and feel it press softly against your chest, filling the quiet spaces between thoughts. You exhale, letting your mind drift alongside photons, drifting across the hush, carried effortlessly by the persistent tide beneath everything. You notice that what seems empty is not void at all, but a harbor for gentle energy, subtle currents, hidden pushes that cradle the universe. You imagine the void between galaxies like a vast, calm ocean, stretching endlessly. Waves of unseen current ripple gently beneath the surface, nudging galaxies along their quiet paths. You inhale, feeling warmth and rhythm brush softly across your awareness. You exhale, letting the hush carry you further into the calm. Even in apparent solitude, the universe whispers, a soft pulse that reminds you you are not alone, you are cradled, carried, held. The light of distant stars drifts across your mind, brushing softly against the edges of your awareness. You inhale, drawing the warmth into your chest. You exhale, letting it mix with the gentle tide beneath galaxies, carried onward like a leaf floating on invisible water. You notice the subtle repetition, the patient arcs, the tiny nudges in motion, and feel reassurance in the rhythm. The emptiness is not empty, it is humming, persistent, kind. You drift alongside a small galaxy, noticing how the gentle push beneath it carries it outward, along unseen currents, across invisible tides. You inhale, rising softly with the motion. You exhale, letting yourself sink further into calm. You feel the subtle humor in the tide, a faint tilt here, a slight nudge there, light flickering playfully across the void. Even the hush contains small, tender gestures, like a secret tucked into the infinite expanse. Your chest rises and falls in perfect harmony with the rhythm of the tide. You notice the subtle arcs in the motion of galaxies, the gentle pushes beneath them, and you inhale slowly, feeling warmth fill your awareness. You exhale, letting your body dissolve into calm, weightless, and warm. The emptiness carries everything light, stars, galaxies, your awareness effortlessly, gently, endlessly. You allow your mind to drift deeper into the silence between islands of starlight. You imagine each stretch of emptiness as a quiet harbor, each hidden current beneath it like a soft hand guiding motion without effort. You inhale, feeling warmth press against your chest. You exhale, letting the hush carry you softly forward, weightless and serene. You notice the subtle repetition in the tide, the gentle arcs, the patient nudges, and feel comforted by the infinite persistence of motion. You notice the tiny flickers of light teasing across the void, brushing softly against shadows, nudged by currents beneath that you cannot see. You inhale, letting warmth fill your awareness. You exhale, sinking further into calm, carried along gentle arcs that repeat softly, endlessly. You notice the playful gestures, the tender insistence in motion, and smile quietly. Even the emptiness seems alive, patient, and kind. You drift further, noticing the hush that spreads between distant galaxies. The unseen tide pulses beneath, persistent yet soft. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, letting your awareness sink into weightless calm. The emptiness stretches outward, carrying light, carrying galaxies, carrying you, tenderly, without hurry. You notice the repetition, the arcs, the gentle nudges beneath everything, and feel a quiet reassurance. You are cradled by the gentle motion of existence itself. You imagine the void as a vast, dark ocean, the light of distant stars like lanterns floating across it. You inhale, feeling warmth brush softly against your chest. You exhale, letting the tide carry you forward. You notice the subtle humor tucked into motion, a faint tilt of a galaxy, a playful flicker of photons, a gentle nudge across the hush. You smile quietly, letting the thought ripple through your awareness. Even the emptiness has personality, patient, playful, gentle. You allow your awareness to sink further into the vast silence. You notice the rhythm in every small movement, the gentle insistence beneath everything, the quiet pulse of existence. You inhale, rising slightly with the tide. You exhale, sinking further, weightless and calm. The emptiness carries everything along soft, patient arcs, reassuring you with the persistence of unseen currents. You drift alongside clusters of faintly glowing galaxies, carried by dark energy's gentle push. You inhale, feeling warmth fill your awareness. You exhale, sinking further into calm, noticing the hush in between, the spaces that seem empty yet hum with persistent energy. The repetition is subtle, endless, soothing. You feel the reassurance of patient motion, everything moves, yet nothing hurries. You are carried, cradled, safe. You notice the horizon of perception stretching gently outward, carried by unseen currents beneath the tide. You inhale, feeling warmth and rhythm press softly against your chest. You exhale, letting the hush carry you further. The subtle humor of the universe nudges galaxies here and there, light flickers playfully, and you smile quietly, letting gentle motion brush softly across your awareness. Even in emptiness, there is presence, there is warmth, there is care. You allow your awareness to float alongside a distant galaxy, weightless, warm, calm. You inhale, feeling your chest rise with the rhythm of the tide. You exhale, sinking lightly into the hush. You notice the repetition, the gentle arcs, the subtle nudges beneath everything, and feel reassurance in the quiet persistence of motion. The emptiness is not empty, it hums softly, invisibly, patiently. You are part of the rhythm. You are cradled. You are carried. You drift further into the hush, noticing faint arcs, subtle flickers of light, tender nudges beneath galaxies. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, letting the tide carry your awareness forward, weightless, warm, calm. The gentle pulse beneath you whispers that emptiness is never really empty. Even the quietest stretches hum softly, a reminder of persistence, patience, and care. You are wrapped in it, cradled in its hush, part of the tide. And as you float, weightless and warm, you sense a subtle stir just beyond the horizon, a quiet pulse in the tide hinting at motion yet unseen. You inhale slowly, letting curiosity drift like a feather. You exhale, letting the unseen currents carry you effortlessly, gently, calmly, toward the next quiet swell, the next subtle wave, the next tender revelation tucked beyond the soft, endless hush of emptiness. You drift softly, weightless, along the endless tide of the cosmos. Your chest rises slowly with a warm, deep inhale, and falls gently with a long exhale, letting the hush of space wrap around your body. The galaxies drift alongside you, islands of starlight carried by the invisible, gentle tide beneath them. You notice the subtle pulse beneath everything, and with a quiet smile, you realize this pulse is yours as well. Dark energy is no longer a distant concept. It is the rhythm beneath your awareness, the gentle insistence that nudges galaxies along their arcs, carries photons across the void, guides your own drift through the hush of space. You inhale, feeling the pulse rise softly in your chest. You exhale, sinking into weightless calm. You are part of the tide, part of the gentle motion, part of the hush that carries all things forward effortlessly. You imagine stepping softly along the shores of a luminous island of galaxies. The sand beneath your feet glimmers faintly, scattered starlight warming your awareness. Each wave of the tide brushes softly against your consciousness, carrying galaxies outward, nudging light along invisible arcs. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, letting yourself sink into calm, carried forward by patient, persistent currents. The universe feels warm, soft, and endlessly playful. You drift alongside a cluster of faintly glowing galaxies, noticing the subtle nudges beneath them. Each push is gentle, precise, deliberate. You inhale, feeling warmth press softly against your chest. You exhale, letting the hush carry you further, weightless and calm. You notice the gentle humor tucked into cosmic motion, a flicker of light here, a tiny tilt of a galaxy there, playful gestures that make the infinite ocean feel tender, alive, kind. Your chest rises and falls with every inhale and exhale, in perfect harmony with the tide beneath galaxies. You notice the repetition in the gentle arcs, the patient nudges, the subtle rhythm of motion that never stops, yet never hurries. You inhale slowly, feeling the warmth of light and tide fill your awareness. You exhale, letting the calm of the universe sink deeply into your body, weightless, safe, and cradled. You imagine drifting further into the cosmic ocean. The islands of galaxies float like lanterns across calm, dark water. You inhale, feeling the warmth of starlight brush softly against your awareness. You exhale, letting the tide carry your body and mind effortlessly, weightless, serene, calm. You notice the subtle repetition of gentle arcs and pushes beneath the surface, and feel reassurance in the persistent, tender motion. The vast expanse seems endless, yet intimate. The hush of space stretches softly across your awareness, carrying galaxies, light, and your own drift. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm of the tide. You exhale, letting your awareness sink into weightless calm. You notice the hidden humor again, faint flickers of light tease across the void, galaxies tilt ever so slightly, subtle nudges move everything along soft, playful arcs. Even the infinite is tender, gentle, kind. You allow your awareness to float alongside a distant galaxy, weightless, warm, calm. You inhale, feeling the gentle pulse beneath you rise softly in your chest. You exhale, sinking lightly into the hush, letting the tide carry you forward. You notice the subtle arcs, the soft nudges, the quiet repetition of motion, and feel a deep reassurance in the patient persistence of the gentle push beneath everything. You drift further, noticing the horizon of perception stretching outward, carried by the quiet tide beneath galaxies. You inhale, feeling warmth and rhythm fill your awareness. You exhale, letting the hush carry your body and mind effortlessly, weightless, serene, and cradled. The gentle pulse beneath everything whispers, even in vastness, there is tenderness, there is play, there is calm. You are part of it. You are carried. You notice the islands of galaxies glowing softly against the void, drifting patiently across arcs shaped by unseen currents. You inhale, feeling your chest rise slightly with the rhythm of the tide. You exhale, sinking deeper into calm, noticing the repetition, the soft arcs, the tender nudges beneath everything. You are weightless, cradled, buoyed by motion, carried effortlessly by the gentle insistence of space itself. You imagine stepping softly along the luminous shores of multiple islands, feeling starlight underfoot, warm and comforting. Each wave of the tide brushes softly against your awareness, carrying light, photons, and galaxies gently along invisible currents. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, sinking deeper into calm, carried effortlessly along arcs that repeat endlessly, softly, tenderly. The hush of the universe wraps around your mind like a thick, warm blanket. The subtle humor in motion brushes softly against your awareness, a faint flicker here, a gentle tilt there, a playful nudge beneath a drifting island. You smile quietly, letting the thought ripple through your chest. Even in the hush, even in apparent stillness, there is gentle delight, patient persistence, soft insistence. You are cradled by it, carried by it, wrapped in its warmth. Your chest rises and falls, perfectly synchronized with the rhythm beneath galaxies. You inhale, feeling warmth press softly across your awareness. You exhale, sinking lightly into calm, noticing how effortlessly the tide carries you onward. You notice the repetition in gentle arcs, the tender nudges, the playful persistence beneath everything. You are weightless, safe, serene, and cradled by the hush of space itself. You drift alongside faintly glowing clusters, noticing subtle nudges beneath each galaxy. You inhale, rising slightly with the rhythm. You exhale, letting yourself sink into calm, carried effortlessly along the gentle arcs of the tide. The gentle push beneath everything reassures you, even in the vastest emptiness, there is persistence, patience, calm. You are part of the rhythm, part of the tide, part of the hush that carries all things. You allow your awareness to float further, weightless, warm, calm. You notice the soft repetition in arcs, nudges, flickers of light, subtle tilts of galaxies. You inhale, feeling warmth brush softly across your chest. You exhale, letting the hush carry you effortlessly. You notice the quiet humor, the tender play, the gentle insistence that everything is carried with care. You are part of it. You are cradled. You are carried. And as you float, weightless and warm, you sense a subtle wave just beyond the horizon, a soft swell in the tide hinting at motion yet unseen. You inhale slowly, letting curiosity float like a feather. You exhale, letting the tide carry you gently, effortlessly, endlessly, into the hush, into calm, into the final quiet swell of the cosmic ocean. You surrender fully, letting dark energy's gentle pulse merge with your own awareness. You feel serene, wrapped in the infinite embrace of the universe. The tide carries you forward, quietly, endlessly. You notice the hush of the cosmos rocking softly, the subtle nudges beneath galaxies, the gentle arcs of light across the void. You are weightless, calm, warm, carried by a lullaby of light and expansion. Your chest rises and falls with the rhythm of the universe itself. You inhale, feeling warmth press gently across your awareness. You exhale, letting the hush carry your body, your mind, your awareness effortlessly onward. You drift, weightless, serene, wrapped in infinite calm. The tide continues, soft and persistent, nudging everything along gentle arcs, carrying you, carrying galaxies, carrying photons, carrying the hush. And as you float, drifting endlessly along the cosmic tide, your mind dissolves softly into calm. The gentle arcs, the tender nudges, the playful flickers of light, the invisible currents all carry you effortlessly. You are cradled by the hush, carried by the tide, weightless, serene, warm, and wrapped in the infinite embrace of space. You take a long, final breath, letting the pulse beneath galaxies merge softly with your own heartbeat. You exhale, sinking fully into calm, floating endlessly with the tide. The gentle push of dark energy, the hush of emptiness, the tender arcs of light all lull you into serene rest. You are part of the tide, part of the hush, part of the infinite, soft, and endless ocean of space.